Namaste children. How are you all? I hope you all are fine. Children, today the chapter which I have taken up is the Browning version. It is written by Terence Rattigan, who is a British dramatist born on June 10, 1911. He is one of the England's most popular mid-20th century dramatists. His plays are typically set in an upper middle class background. His works include such as The Winslow Boy, the Browning version, The Deep Blue Sea, Separate Tables, and many more. He got died on November 30, 1977. Now, let me acquaint you all to the main characters of this chapter. The first character is Mr. Crocker Harris. He is a highly disciplined teacher. He follows all the rules of the school unlike other teachers. He has a strong hold over his students and he hates flattery and does not being liked by his students. The second character is Mr. Frank. He is a young science teacher, but he shows better understanding of students' behavior. He is jealous of Mr. Crocker Harris and thus likes him being criticized by one of his students. The third character of the chapter is Taplow. Taplow is a boy of 16 who studies in lower 5th. He is very respectful towards his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris. The last character is Mrs. Millie. She is Mr. Crocker Harris's wife and she is very kind-hearted towards the students. Now, let us discuss some expressions which have been used in the chapter. Let's understand the meaning of these expressions. The first expression is remove. This means when a child is promoted to the next class, when a child is allowed to take admission in the next class, this is remove. The next expression is slackers. Slackers means lazy, or you can say careless students. You can call them unmotivated children also. The third expression is muck. Muck means something which is rubbish or useless, which is of no use. The next expression is kept in. This means detained, or when you are told to stay back in the school for an extra class. The next expression is got carried away. This means when someone becomes emotional or becomes very excited. The next expression is cut. Cut means when you go away from your class without the concerned person's permission. And the last expression is shriveled up, which means when a person has no feelings, when a person is completely emotionless, there we use this expression. So children, I hope you all have understood the meanings of the expressions used in the chapter. So children, let us discuss the chapter in detail. The scene of the play is set in a school The play opens with a 16-year-old boy Taplow who has been detained by his teacher to compensate for his one day's absence. He is waiting for his teacher, Mr. Crocker Harris, who has not yet arrived. The other teacher, Mr. Frank, finds Taplow waiting in the room and starts talking with him. Taplow introduces himself and informs him that he is a student in the lower 5th grade. He feels that he would specialize next term if he got promoted. He also tells Mr. Frank that Mr. Crocker Harris doesn't tell the students their result beforehand like the other teachers. Mr. Frank is surprised. He admits that the headmaster announces the results on the last day of term. Taplow says that it is only Mr. Crocker Harris who abides by this rule of not telling the students about their results before they are officially announced. Mr. Frank asks Taplow whether he would pursue science if he gets a favorable result. Mr. Frank sadly admits that he gets all the poor students, but Taplow says that he is extremely interested in science. Moreover, he would not have to read a useless play like The Agamemnon. Mr. Frank is a bit astonished at the thoughts of Taplow about the play. Thinking that he has gone too far, Taplow corrects himself, saying that the plot is good, but the way it is taught is terrible. Taplow informs him that he had missed a day of school the previous week due to illness, and so Mr. Crocker Harris asked him to do extra work in place of that. Mr. Frank tries to calm him by telling him that he would certainly get his result the next day for being a good boy. But Taplow feels the other way. He feels that such rules do not work with Mr. Crocker Harris, as he is not like other teachers who appreciate students who do extra work. Mr. Crocker Harris had told him that he had given Taplow what he deserved, nor less and no more. Taplow is afraid that Mr. Crocker Harris would have rather marked him down for being or for doing extra work. According to Taplow, Mr. Crocker Harris is a different kind of teacher. He is very strict and hardly a human. Mr. Frank pretends to be unhappy, but he encourages Taplow to imitate his teacher once again. Mr. Frank asks Taplow at what time he was supposed to meet Mr. Crocker Harris. Taplow informs him that he was called at 6:30. Mr. Frank points out that Mr. Crocker Harris was already 10 minutes late, so he suggests that Taplow could go off and play golf. However, Taplow seems shocked at his suggestion and is scared that Mr. Crocker Harris might follow him home. Mr. Frank tells Taplow that he is jealous of Mr. Crocker Harris because all the students are scared of him. Taplow makes fun of Mr. Crocker Harris by saying that it would have been better if he were a sadist, as it would mean he had some feelings, but he is hard like a nut. He is completely heartless. He is an emotionless person. He possesses no feelings at all. Taplow feels that Mr. Crocker Harris is all dried up and hates that people like him. Taplow now recalls an incident when Mr. Crocker Harris made one of his classic jokes. It was in Latin, so no child of the class laughed because they did not understand what did it mean. And out of sheer courtesy, Taplow laughed at the joke. This proved to be a bad move by Taplow. Mr. Crocker Harris complimented him by saying that Taplow's Latin had improved. Mr. Crocker Harris then asked Taplow to explain the joke to the whole class. And after some time, the door opens and Millie Crocker Harris enters. Millie Crocker Harris, who is Mr. Crocker Harris's wife, is a thin woman in her late 30s. She is smartly dressed, unlike other schoolmasters' wives. When she comes, she is unnoticed. Taplow was still imitating Mr. Crocker Harris. But when Mr. Frank noticed her, he broke off suddenly. Millie Crocker Harris asked Taplow if he was waiting for her husband. She further informs him that her husband is busy at the bursars and might get late. She asks him to leave. Taplow is doubtful and says Mr. Crocker Harris had particularly asked him to come. She advises him to go away for a quarter of an hour and then come back. Taplow is scared. He asks what if Mr. Crocker Harris comes back. Millie Crocker Harris gives him relief by saying that she will take the blame. And then she gives him a prescription and sends him to the chemist to get it filled. Convinced, Taplow accepts Mrs. Millie's proposal and leaves happily. Thank you.